debut price, Tyler Vernon.
Well,
What are your
I was going to mention, spending 10 years as a vice president at a large firm on Wall Street. It's not just GM. That's how the game goes. The large, most important investors, they're getting the allocations. You're not going to be getting it. Somebody with $1 million there might not be getting it. It's really the larger institutional investors. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on really the pricing here. We're seeing a good price on the open. We're up 6-7%. What do you think as far as where that's priced? As far as the Treasury could have got back a lot more money here if they had priced it a little bit higher.
David Silver, that's a good question for you.
Well, I think that is actually a fairly good price for the U.S. Treasury. We heard $26 to $29 first off. That was extremely too low. I think they could have ended up pricing it where we are right now, about $35.25. I think they could have priced it at $35 and you would have seen that initial run up. I think that we're going to still see over the next few days to a few weeks a good strength, because as Jeff said earlier, a very few international investors have gotten in to the IPO. So that's going to draw a lot of volume over the next few weeks in as Chinese sovereign funds, as Middle Eastern sovereign funds get their money involved. I think you could see the stock above $38. But the U.S. Treasury did, I think we got out in what we could have come, the IPO coming this quickly after going into bankruptcy last year, about 18 months ago. This is a good deal right now for the U.S. Treasury, but we still took a loss on this money, and there's really no qualms about it.
Right. And David Menlo, again to you, I mean, that is the question here, is that Treasury, certainly through the IPO, they are going to get some money back, but there is going to be a loss outstanding for Treasury. Again, that goes back to the taxpayer and the fact that the taxpayer is sitting at home today watching their television screen and realizing that it's all institutional money that's playing the game of the General Motors IPO and not them. Is that fair?
Oh, it's, in that regard, sure, it's not fair. But I will say that I believe that the Treasury has made a huge error in putting the deal together the way they did. If they had just allowed General Motors to do an IPO, say, for 100 million shares and allow the money to come into their Treasury itself and wait another year, I believe that the Treasury might have gotten 50 to maybe 70% more for the shares that it was trying to sell. So this was one of those, got to do it now, get it out of the way so nobody says we're living in a socialist economy here because of the administration, and they ended up taking a price hit as a result. If they do secondaries, which obviously will be the case, hopefully they'll be able to get it at higher levels in the high 40s, and that would get most of the money back. And
that would help Treasury and the taxpayer. Mark, somebody else that got helped out by this deal with General Motors, that was the underwriters, that was the banks.
Yeah, they're probably, happy to do their duty to bring this stock back into the market, but
they did make deals though on their fees. I should be clear on that.
They did. They're not getting rich. Yeah, they're not getting rich fees on this, especially given the optics of this transaction to the marketplace. But I got one question for David. David, Menlo, we'd spoken yesterday on this story. Just what's your? Do you think, or either one of you guys actually, do you think the price may be a little too rich? You think 29 might have been a better price? Because I know we're seeing a little bit of a pop, 7% or so, but I don't know if that's, I think the underwriters and a lot of the other officials are expecting 15 to 20%. This isn't rich. This isn't like an amazing outing we're seeing, and there's still a little bit of resistance.
David Menlo?
No, this is a pricing model where they really push the envelope almost to the maximum here. I will say that if they did keep it within the $26 to $29 original pricing range, there would have been a feeding frenzy of unparalleled proportion, and we might have seen that price deal at 29 maybe open up at 38.
And wouldn't have that been ideal? Because now 35 is kind of, it looks like it's shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because people are now saying that most of the wind has been taken out of the sails. But there's a balance here. The underwriters have to work for the issuers, but they also have to work for their reputations. And they don't want to make it look like they've left too much money on the table. They want the perception out on the street that the IPO was priced with a little bit more room left in it, which from 33 to 35 and change is proving that. And over time, the fundamentals hopefully will bear that out, and we'll end up closing above that $35 price and moving higher over time.
David Silver, do you think that they underpriced the IPO? That they overpriced it?
I think it's actually a good price, and to respond to your question with another question, would you rather see a GM, which we own 60% of, used to own 60% of, see that 15 to 20% run right after they IPO, don't you feel like you would have gotten gypped out of a little bit of money for the U.S. taxpayer? So that's why I think that the $35, $33 range was good for now, because the U.S. taxpayer got the money back. Let the company really work through the fundamentals. Let the fundamentals come back. I don't really think the fundamentals are that strong for General Motors right now. So 35, I think, is actually a very good. 33 was a very good price. And, if you go to 26, 29, I agreed with Mr. Menlo that you were going to see a feeding frenzy. Everybody was going to try to get into it. Because the truth is, this is probably a 33, 35, maybe even a 37, $38 stock, but there's not much room above that.
All right, David Silver and, of course, David Menlo, thanks to both of you for joining me and weighing in on the IPO. 3 hours, 45 minutes to go in the trading day to see where GM closes the day. Coming up next, are the unions the big winners in GM stock sale? The heated debate on that is next on the only business network in True HD.